Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Covers. I feel like I haven't seen you for a long time. If you've missed me, just put a hashtag missed you in the comments. Thank you for those who are coming in. If you find this of worth and value, how can you not? Please share this out with your amazing network. So who am I? My name is Daniela Bleckner. I am an author, book journey mentor, founder of a publishing company called Conscious Dream Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there in the form of books. On the bookshelf behind me, you can see some of the 300 plus books that we've published over the last 3 years. I'm just going to make sure that I am using the correct mic. Yes, I am. I'm absolutely passionate about providing a platform for unseen, unheard authors so they can have their voices heard and stories shared so they can educate, inspire, and empower for generations to come. So what is this show all about and why is it called Between the Covers, not Between the Sheets, which some people have started to call it? So this show is really about giving you an up close and personal journey into what it takes to be an author, that author journey. So I call myself book journey mentor because, as all the authors who I've worked with know, that it's very much a journey. It's not a process of here's your manuscript, month later done. It's a journey with many stages. It's also a platform where you get to hear from, there you go, please let me know if you can hear me properly. It's also a platform where you get to hear from industry professionals, so agents, editors, illustrators, book marketers, people in PR, so you can really get to understand that it's not just about the publication or creation of the book. It's about the marketing, the promotion, all the little facets it takes to bring out a wonderful book, such as Upside Down, such as this one. So I have been working with my next guest for, I think, about 2 years. She's absolutely amazing. Her name is Saleah Micci, and she has published a book which is released today called Oceans of Potential. Look at this beautiful cover, just holding it up right here. It feels like a photo moment. So what is Oceans of Potential about? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring on my guest and you can ask her yourself. So if you have any questions, she's back. If you have any questions, this is always a very interactive show. Please do throw up your questions and I will read them out. This is entitled Deceit, Lies and Corruption in the Music Business. So that's going to give you a bit of a clue as to what this is all about. Please throw up some emojis to say hello to the awesome and amazing Saleah Micci. Hello, Saleah. If you just click, you're on mute at the moment. There you go. How are you doing?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm good.
Yes,
I'm good.
So your book is out today. You are now finally a published author. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels really good. In a strange way, because it has been a journey. But and I don't know how many people are going to read the book, but certainly to get it this far, to get it into this state, I feel really, really blessed and honored that it's in print. So thank you. And I just want to say thank you to Danielle that has given me such inspiration and conscious dreams to actually get this book to the stage that it's in. I've had many friends that have been with other publishers and the struggles that they've had, they haven't even got not even a quarter, a fraction of what it is that you've done. And I feel that you've gone the extra mile, to actually get things to a stage where they need to go. And I'm really, really pleased. I really am pleased about it. So, yeah, I know I'm your biggest fan. Sorry, but I know when I'm saying it, I'm not just saying it just because you're interviewing me, but I'm saying that because you know what a journey it has been to do this. And it shouldn't have taken me 2 years to do it, but life just got in the way, and we managed to get there. So
you did. thank you so much. It really means so much to hear positive feedback. It's really important to me to make sure that the person I'm working with is having a great journey. And I know how writing a book is such a big deal, and I think so many people misunderstand how much of a big deal it is and how much of a journey that is, especially when you're writing fiction, especially when you're having life situations. It takes as long as it takes, and you've got your final product here and it just looks beautiful. So I'm going to just shout out some people who are saying hello right now. We've got Beverly Jacobs. She says congratulations. Oh, Beverly, if you want someone to interview, Saleah will be perfect for your show, so do connect. Andrea is saying yay. Hey Saleah, you go for it.
Thank
this
you.
Is your Abi Micci. Claudia, bravo. Danny Rocks, big up. Oh, bless. Thank you so much. If you're watching this, can you please do share this on Saleah's Facebook page? That would be so helpful. I'm trying to do it at the same time as speak to Saleah. I'll get there. But if you can help out by sharing that, this would be amazing. Thank you so much. So tell us, what is Oceans of Potential about and what inspired you to write it?
Okay, so I think as with all stories, the story starts to develop and sort of like take on legs of its own. So the story is about it's a combination of Abi Jackson. She's one of the main protagonists, but she's mainly the one that starts it off. And she she was in the church. She wanted to be like a big singer, but she never got the opportunity that for various reasons. And as a result of that, she just left the church. She decided, that's it, I've had enough. And she then decided that she was going to create something for herself, come what may. And she meets this guy who is a talent scout that works for a record company. And in talking, he was saying that, he was just looking for some new talent. And she had a suggestion that, why don't you, do some kind of audition and get ordinary, teenagers to actually sing or audition and see what you get from that. And so the story moves on where she does the audition, and then a group of guys, young guys, they come together to form a band. And then all of these different things start to happen, where she's lied to, and indirectly the 5 boys whose hopes of becoming part of this boy group or this boy band, they get caught up in it as well. And she then realizes that she's been lied to, and the 5 boys later on discovered that they had been lied to, and in fact they've been ripped off in some way. And then the story then starts to twist. There is a court scene and so on, and there is, will they get justice, that type of thing. So it's a kind of whodunit as well. So it starts off as an ordinary story, but as I say, there are a few twists and turns, and it turns into a kind of, how did this happen? And then what happens to these 5 young teenagers along the way. So hopefully you've heard me. Right. Hello?
I have. I'm not. Oh, there we go. I'm not sure what happened. I can hear everything that you were saying, and I was definitely trying to.
I don't know if it's my signal.
Hopefully. No, it was me. It was because I was trying to multitask, but not to worry. Everyone heard you and saw you.
All right.
Beverly said, what was your inspiration? Exactly. What was behind your inspiration of this book? Because it's, when the tagline for this is deceit, lies, and corruption in the music business. And we know, especially with a lot of what's coming out, I mean, for decades, there's been this here underlying in the music business. So what was your ultimate inspiration behind this?
Right. All right. So the inspiration behind the book, if you can hear, because you're breaking up a little bit, inspiration behind the book is that you see something naturally that happens in life, something very, very small, and then you start to say, what if I changed things up a bit? What if it didn't go the way that
I'm going to count down. I think Saleah's going to be back with us in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think Saleah is actually in Italy. So I'm just going to read a little bit about the author while she comes back in. Saleah Micci was born in Shepherd's Bush. Shout out to West Londoners. I'm originally a West Londoner, by the way. West London, to Jamaican parents who came to the UK during the Windrush period. Her love for all things creative began around 6, after her father passed away. At this tender age, she was runner-up in a national children's artist competition. Coming from a Caribbean household, music was a big part of her life, and the music was played all day long. I'm just reading your bio. Having worked in the commercial world of oil and gas, she became interested in information technology, sparking a desire to know how things fit together, which is what I think you were talking about. Saleah enjoys injecting creativity into figuring out how to make complex things simple. So let's talk about that and weave that into what you were saying before.
Yeah. So as I said, you hear a little story, or and then you look at it and the way that it turns out, and then as a writer or as a storyteller, you think, what would happen if it went a different way? And being able to write, you can actually do that. The pen's in your hand, and then you can change it whichever way you want. And just learning how to add in twists and turns, and how to put in things that people did not expect or didn't see coming. I find that really, really exciting. So it's been really, really good actually doing that. But the funny thing about this book is that I wrote it all the way through, and then at the end of it, I met somebody. So after so long, I met somebody and told her about the story. And then she said, you've written it from a male perspective. Why, and the male always is on top, but I feel that Abi has sacrificed so much. She's sacrificed herself. She's walked away from her church. She's divorced, and she's put her all into these boys. And at the end of the book, she gets nothing. And so she basically said, that's not fair. That's not fair. You're the writer. You can direct this. Let Abi have something. Let her have something. Let her be on top in some way, get something out of it. So that gave me another idea. So I think at the time when you said to me, okay, go through the work again. And then I decided that I added in another chapter. So I inserted a chapter which is called Time to Shine. All of the chapters, they all have a title. And somebody at their worst place in their life, like they've just literally fallen flat, and then something happens, and then the person is brought up, and almost like a miracle. And then she does win at the end, as well. But I'm not giving away all of the story.
You have to buy the book, Oceans of Potential. Look at that beautiful cover. I mean, one thing you talk about is like, the characters, and you had quite an ensemble of characters there, and it's not easy to kind of weave all of those in and to create that kind of that one person perspective. But it's told through the eyes of, it was third person. It's obviously Abi was one of the main characters, but also the boy band as well. But we really get to see like each facet of each character. So your characters aren't two-dimensional. We've got many different sides to them. So how is writing something you've always wanted to do or always loved doing, and how easy or difficult was it for you to create those characters?
All right. So as I said, having the imagination, having an idea of a story, and the way that I work is I have an idea of a story, and then I like to draw. So I'll get a piece of paper, And then I think, okay, who are these characters in the story? So then I draw circles and then I put their names down. And then I say, okay, so what do they want in the story? So then I sort of like spider map. They want this, this person wants that. So everybody's got to want something. And then how are they all going to come together? And then what's going to happen? What about the conflicts and so on? So I literally had the idea and I wrote, did a circle and I just gave titles. So chapter 1 will be this. I want to have 18 chapters, something like that. And I drew circles like, okay, so what's chapter 1 about? It's about that title, that title. So I just wrote these titles in. And then afterwards, I then start to ask the questions of, 10 questions that ingredients that you want in it. And I think it's a kind of treatment, isn't it, of each of that. So I do all of that. And then I say to myself, okay, so what era is this in? And it's like, well, this is in 1995. So then I go on, onto Google and then, okay, because it's about music. Okay, what are the top hits at that time? And then I look at the songs that were on top of the pops at the time. And then I play them and then I've got ideas. So I'm dancing around this. So I've done all of that without actually starting to script, what I'm doing. Brilliant. But there was a tool which is called Scrivener. And I thought Scrivener, perfect for that. So because I know the titles of the chapters, I put down all the titles and then the year, and then I put down, so I paste it. So it's like you've got this kind of board, and then you paste that there, and all the different researches. So, even in the book, the boys, they go on a trip, to
I love that.
And then I thought to myself, I had to think about it. It used to be, was it Chessington Zoo?
And World of Adventures, was it? Chessington Zoo. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's right. And then where was it? It was in Leatherhead. So stuff like that. So you start to think of, well, how are they going to get there? And then you think of, well, they'd have to go from Waterloo Station. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as you're scoping out all of these things that come to you, and then songs that you hear along the way, and then you start playing them and singing them, and they all give you the idea, and then you then start to write from that point. So that's how I write, and it then becomes fun.
Yeah,
because you've got all of this, you've done your own research. I would not tire of doing research. You do all your research. It's like you've got your whole research library in front of you, and then from there you start to write, and then the detail of what you want to know, you then put it in.
That's I love that. It's so interesting hearing different people's processes. I love the fact that I think one of the biggest mistakes people make, and definitely one that I did 15 years ago, was they sat down and just started writing. And there's so much to be said for actually really immersing yourself, like understanding the world that you're going to be in, understanding who your character is going to be in, like, having fun with it before you kind of delve in. Like you said, getting your chapter headings down. Scrivener, I've written that there for any writers who want to check out the tool Scrivener. What I think I love the most is that you actually played the music, you immersed yourself in the music and the era of it all. And I think a lot of people, even people who were, yourself and I, we were in the 90s, so we should know, the era really well. But there's some things that kind of do slip through the net, and I think a lot of people do skip that research stage. So I think that really
you see, the thing is, the research stage gives you the ammunition. So yes, you're a writer and you're going to sit down, you're going to write, and then maybe you'll dry up to a point because you think, okay, what else am I going to say? But I was part of I'm still part of a little writing group, and during the lockdown we came together. This was friend Andrea Bress, who was on here, and we came together, and it was just like, I'm writing a book. And she said, yes, I'm writing a book. How far are you into your book? And she said she was like 60,000 words in. I said, you're 60,000 words in, right? And you're still going up the mountain. You need to come down the mountain. And then I said, look, we need to just get together because I've got the structure and everything. And I just really do need somebody to partner up with. And then, I think on that day, when should we should we meet? And she was expecting me to say like Thursday or next week. I said 4 o'clock today. And, you know, I hadn't seen her. You know, I see her once a year in New Year's, and that's it.
Well, she's
You know,
on now.
then,
She's saying
yeah.
hello. Are you in? Are you both in Malta then?
No. There was holidays a couple of weeks ago, and she was in Malta. So yeah.
Oh, I see. Sorry. So you're in Italy. That's correct.
No. I'm in Malta. I'm in Malta, but I go back and forth to London. So that's where the Malta connection comes in. Yeah. But we started writing together, and we came across this book, which is How to Write a Novel. And she had it on her Kindle version. And so when we got together, we had a look at it. So we could see that it said, you know, if you're writing a drama or a romance or something like that, it should be this amount of words, or if you're writing a memoir, it's this amount of words. So based on that, it was just like, okay, well, if we're going to write that amount of words, how many chapters do we need to have?
Yeah.
So we broke it down, and then how many words we would have in each chapter. And it then helped us to not have, you know, 1,000 words for one chapter and another one has 4,000 words, where it's just all, So we managed to work through quite a few things in order to get things to line up as they should do. So that was really, really good to have a partner that you're writing with as well.
I was going to say, I think that's really great, because one of the drawbacks of being a writer is it can be quite insular and quite lonely, and you get so swept up in your world. It also then becomes very difficult to share, and because you become sort of precious over it, you know, because you spent all this time writing it, and then now you have to share it. So there's a sense of vulnerability, but it's great to have someone that you're writing with at the same time who you can bounce ideas off and share some things that you've done. So I think that's definitely really helpful. I'm looking forward to hearing about your book, Andrea. I hope you're finishing. If you need any help, you know where to come. So we've got some more people come on. We've got Candido, hello, saying hello, Saleah, our friend.
Hi.
Clara and me send you greetings from Bogota and London. Oh wow, fantastic. We've got people watching from Colombia, London. Ali Pali, she's one of our authors. Her book is coming out 1st of September as well. So you're in the same cohort. Hopefully you'll all meet at some point. So it's really important to have an author community, I think. It's good to have friends to share ideas with. Exactly. How did you find then the writing process in general? So once you've kind of started, you've got your structure and everything else written out. How did you find the actual writing process when it was like, right, clutch control, time to go?
So that's really a good question, because I was very disciplined. So every day, and I still do it now, you know, get up at a certain time, and then, you know, at 8 o'clock, you know, I'll write for an hour or so. And I feel that whenever you show up at a certain time, you know, it's like your innermost being, you know, it's just like, okay, so where were we? And you pick up where you last left off and you carry on. And it's, you know, you start to build up momentum. And it's a kind of, I suppose, not meditating, but it's like you just have a connection, some kind of a spiritual connection with the work that you're doing. And sometimes while you're writing, you know, a character will come out and you think, you know, or an idea of the story will come out and you think, where did that come from? And you just think, wow. So, you know, so you carry on writing like that. But the thing that happened to me was that I was really, you know, I'm up for an adventure, really, really happy about that. But then my mother died. And then shortly afterwards, my brother died. And if I didn't have this writing group or this discipline to just show up and just be there, then this book wouldn't be written. And I just remember, you know, with my friend Andrea, me just showing up. Even if you haven't written anything, just show up. And then we got together, and then she'll say to me, you know what, why don't you write a sentence? And then it got to the point where I couldn't write a sentence. And then she said, you know what? You've scoped out your book. You know, is there somewhere else in the chapters that you can see that you knew enough about to be able to write? And there was, you know, chapter 8 going onwards. I knew what I was going to say in that. So she just said, well, just write the one sentence from there. And then obviously you don't just write one sentence, you write a bit more.
Yeah.
And then I was able to write at a place which was much easier to actually write through until I got to the end of the book. And then I had to go back and then start to write, you know, from where I couldn't write anymore. And so that's what happened. So the writing process, you can sit down blindly and just see what happens, but then as well, you have to give yourself time to just flush out. Sometimes you can write a poem or something which is totally abstract, do something different. Or somebody may say, I just sit down and I draw and I paint something. And then you've done that, you've just done something, and it's like you get that out of the way. And, you know, sometimes people say, you know, you can get the draft, you know, the sort of rubbish draft out the way, push that to one side, and then now that you've cleared that, then start to write from that point. So there are all lots of tips that you can learn, isn't that right, Daniela? You can learn to push through. And the other thing as well, people talk about, oh well, I've got a writer's block and so on, and sometimes you have to just go for a walk, or sometimes you just have to walk away, and you just have to just leave it, knowing that don't worry, when the time comes, you'll be able to pick up again and then move through that. So I don't know if that makes sense.
You've given us some amazing tips. We should maybe do a little workshop on writing sort of tips. You know, she's giving us some gems here, people. Okay. So, can I say, first of all, what an amazing friend you have, Andrea Best. What patience and what really good advice you gave.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy to be disciplined. It's not easy to show up, even when you're not going through things. The fact that you did that, going through grief and, you know, losing two very important people is commendable. I don't know how many people could do that. And, you know, I love that, Andrew, you said just write a sentence or just show up. But sometimes that is just enough just to get going. So yeah, big up to Andrea Best. She's saying, oh, my novel is called Second Glances, so we'll see Daniela regarding my sequel. Yes, I'd love to hear more. I like that. Second Glances, great title. Ali Pally says, oh, writing is such a good relief for grief. Oh, 100%, definitely. I wanted to pick up on something you said, which was about sometimes, you know, just getting everything out. You know, it's one of the things I say is like, once you've structured it, get everything out on the paper, because everything comes out in the edit. And I'm sorry to say, if you haven't written a book and you've written a first draft and you think that's your last draft, you're wrong. Unless you're just printing and you don't want it to be the best book. But you write. I think there's a quote, I can't remember who said this, but you write twice. Authors write twice, once for yourself and then once for the reader. So the point of the editing is like you see it through the reader's eyes, and that can be quite difficult as well. Especially, you know, I love language. I'm writing a fantasy novel at the moment, and I know that sometimes I can say something in 3 different really flowery ways, and an editor will come along and say, just choose one. You know, no need for 3 metaphors, just have one. And so it's that kind of strictness sometimes with the editing. So how did you find, once you kind of written that first draft, how did you then find the process of having to sort of go back and re-edit and maybe make some decisions about things that might have to be chopped? Because this is something that a lot of authors don't know happens.
Wrestle about
deleted scenes.
So each time when I was writing a chapter, there are some times where you're writing and then you get on your soapbox, don't you? And you're writing, you know, really get on your soapbox. And the good thing about writing, obviously, when you've got writing buddies, that you read them this piece of that you think is really, really good, and then and then you read it out, and then they say,
I've had that.
And then you realize afterwards it was just something that you just had to get off your chest, and it was just like, you know what, you could always leave that, like at one side, and then just carry on just writing and just see what you get from that. And then the next time when you go to write, you then realize you just draw a little bit of reference from that, and then you now start to settle into the story. And sometimes you just have to get something off your chest, which you think is really, really, it's going to be in the story, but it's not. It's just that you've got to get it off the chest. And I think there were lots of, when we were doing the editing, there were lots of characters. I threw in everybody into if that person is not going to appear anywhere else down in these chapters, what business has the person got to be in this?
There's one Tom, was it, or something? But I can tell, like, but it shows you care. You care about the postman who knocked on the door.
Yeah.
You could use them for another book, but I think you've done really well with the stripping back of characters and the story in itself. Talk to us about the sort of designing stage. That's one of my favorite stages. If you can see here with the typesetting, she's got some musical motifs here, and then at the beginning of each chapter, at the end of each chapter, hold on, I think this is a treble clef. So we've obviously the designing inside, but also talk to us about this. I just love your cover, I really do.
Okay, I'm going to come to the cover because you helped with that one. So inside the book, like usually in the chapters, not necessarily in the chapters, but sometimes there's a kind of shift from one person or from one place to the next. And sometimes you put little asterisks to signify that. But I felt that that's right. If you had like a musical note or was it a treble clef or double clef, going across it, then it's going to just bring it to life. But I just said that, and then Danny just got it done, and it just looked really, really amazing. I just thought it just worked. It really worked. Coming to the cover now. The original cover, I mean, I've got an idea of what I had in mind to actually do it. But before that, because we felt that if you have a book and you've got a cat or a dog on the book, it's going to sell millions, So that was something that we used to say. We used to have it as a joke. And then it was just like, what? Why don't we get 5 cats, standing, at a mic, and singing? And then we couldn't find 5 cats doing that, or it just wouldn't work. And then, so we had all these different ideas, how we could work in a cat or a dog or what have you. But then in the end, the simplicity of what you've done, Danny, was to actually just put the 5 mics there, and then the spotlights just coming over it. And I thought that just told the story. There's 5 empty mics, who's going to win the right, to step up to the mic. And I just thought it was just really amazing. So just seeing that, it just, without even going into the story, it shows that something is happening here. And Oceans of Potential is that I believe that everybody, without exception, has potential of something. And so that's why I say oceans. You can't count every drop of water, in the sea. You just couldn't. But each person has got something which is special about them. I believe that God has given every person a talent without exception. 100%. And you can use it to the best of your ability. And then, you might have an audience of one, or you might have an audience of many, but, the gift that you've got, your purpose really is to use it. Just use it. And you were saying that when you first start off, and I know what it feels like, you just think, I'm not too sure if this is any good. That word, not good enough, is always runs in people's heads. And then when you've written for a while, you realize, I don't care whether people think it's not good enough. I just want to get better. I can get better at what it is that I'm doing. And in order to get better, when you write and you practice and so on, you get better and better and better, because you're able to now crystallize what it is that you're saying, and it becomes clearer. You're not writing it because it's flowery or what have you. You're writing it because you want people to understand what's going, and you want people to be intrigued enough to follow the story, you know, to see what happens next. That's where all of that just goes out of the way. The floweriness goes out of the way because you think, I just want to be understood.
You just want to refine your craft as a writer. Yeah, exactly. You want to be understood. You want to connect to that reader, the most important person. About the cover, so just clarifying, I want to give a shout out to Emily Rajak, who designed this. I come up with the concepts and the ideas because when I read the book, it really helps to like delve into your world and your characters and just understand the story. And then so I generate ideas, and I wish I was creative in this way to create a cover, but I'm not. This is Emily Rajak there, and yeah, I think the whole process has been a really beautiful co-creative process, which I think is something that's really important when you're publishing a book. I think one of the drawbacks of some publishing houses, sometimes it depends on what kind of deal you have, if you're publishing traditionally, is that you have to almost sort of let go of all creative control once you've written your book. It's like you're paid to write the book, and they then have the control over, you know, how it's marketed, how it looks, and all the other different facets, depending, you know, on what kind of deal you have. So how did you feel, you know, did you feel that self-publishing was a great way for you in terms of being able to stay true and to hold on to your vision?
Yeah. The funny thing about it is that I have been writing for a long time, you know, so you're a closet writer, aren't you? You just write wherever you go, you know, there's always pen. I've got scribbles like now everywhere, scribbles of something that I thought of, I've written it down. And so I've always been like that. And then I did send a couple of, so this is many years ago, I did send a couple of things to publishers, and then of course you get the rejection letters, don't you? So I realized that you can be really wounded by having these rejection letters, and then you just think, I'm absolute rubbish, so I'm never going to write again. But I just secretly carried on writing, and then so I've just done that. And lots of people say, oh, you should send it. I remember sending something to the BBC once, so I had an idea for something, and then they wrote back to me and they just said, send us the rest of it. And I didn't think that I was good enough. Wow. I didn't do it. And
you didn't do it?
No, I didn't. And then these are the things that just kept on happening, where I just didn't do it because I didn't think that I was good enough. But then after a while, you know, I did my first book. So it's not a novel, but it was called Make Friends with Yourself. And then when a friend told me about Amazon, that if you prepare everything in such a way, you can, you know, get your book, you know, published on Amazon, and then, you know, you can get your book out there. So I went through the process of doing it, and it was only about 16,000 words, and I managed to get it on there, and it was like, wow, I actually did that. But that was 16,000 words, so that was easy enough to do by myself. Then now that I'm writing a novel, because, you know, my friend, she's writing her romance novel, where I think she wrote something like 90 or something thousand words.
Wow.
You're talking about a lot more now, so you can't just leave it like that. So I think even before I actually gave the book to you, before I was recommended to you, I think I got the book edited. I went onto Fiverr, just paid a small amount, got a beta reader, got them to read it, then got somebody else to just go and check, you know, dot the I's, cross the T's. And I kept on going backwards and forwards for it. But I thought, no, I need to have a bit more. I need to know that this is right, because in the back of my mind, I'm saying to myself, you've written rubbish. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you know, it's not anything. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just things that obviously that's playing in your head. And then when somebody recommended that I came to you, and then you looked through it, I wrote a few things about it, and you said, you know what, I think you got a story there, so let's continue with it. And so I then realized that there was another route. So I didn't get the rejection letter because I wouldn't put it out to a publishing house like that again. But then, because of the KDPs and and the Amazon and so on and the different platforms, providing everything's formatted in the right way, you can actually get a book out there. So I thought, why don't I find a publisher, and then go down that route? Not a publisher like Penguin or Random House, where they give you an advance and so on, but let's see if I can get some help that way. And then I was recommended to Conscious Dreams Publishing, and they connected me with you, and from there you started to look at the book and then give some ideas, but I think it wasn't till you actually read the book that you actually saw what I was trying to say, which sometimes you find it difficult to say, don't you? What it is that you're trying to put across. So so I preferred, what you're doing, and if there is any other publisher which does what you do to the standard and quality that you do, then yes, people are going to get their work done. I'm not for putting work out and it's got loads of errors and stuff in it, because that is just terrible. That just puts the reader off. But if it's been checked, cross-checked, sanitized, sense checked, and so then it goes out there. You're serving people, aren't you, by giving them a story. And the story itself, there's lots of stories out there, and I don't agree with the ethos, the idealism of some of the stories, but it's a story, and we're in a world where everything goes at the moment. And I just thought, let me just, people do have good stories. Why don't people focus on the good stories and just get the good stories out there? They don't have to, anyway, I suppose it's other people's books, but for my book, I just thought to myself, yes, it's safe. It's safe, but I want it to have a story. I want it to have a twist. I want there to be drama. I want there to be, some highs and lows, and I want people to be on a little bit of a roller coaster, but I don't want to in a sleazy way or anything like that. That's just not me.
I think you've got all of those elements in the book as well. Questioning, there isn't, you could say there's a villain in the book, but then you're also looking at, the villain's weaknesses and flaws, and what drove him to make the decisions he did without spoiling it for anybody. I want to say something about rejection, actually. So I've met a lot of agents. I've had agents look at my work. I've had some really good dialogue with some of them. So I would say that, well, first of all, rejection was one of the things that actually drove me to self-publish my first book in 2014, and then set up this company, because I ended up, loads of people were asking me for help, and I was doing it as a labor of love. And then, it's grown and grown and grown. But, agents, if you're rejected, it doesn't mean that your writing is bad, or that your premise is bad, or it's not good enough. What it means is, like, often you've got a small amount of agents in a big company. They get 300 submissions a week on average. They have to fulfill a certain quota for a certain amount, and so it like I say, sometimes it could be wrong timing, or sometimes it could be wrong person. Sometimes it could be that the pitch might need tweaking. So it's, the writing is a small part of it, but a lot of it is selling. A lot of it is that's having a really good pitch and grabbing them in those first few, in that query letter firstly, and obviously those first 3 chapters. And everything is a learning process. What I pitched in 2021 for this fantasy novel that I'm writing is completely different to what I'm going to be pitching, again soon, because I've learned the process, and I've had feedback, and sometimes I've left it a year between having a developmental edit and refining my manuscript again, because I know the journey. I know how it can be like, what, I thought it was perfect. So one of the things that I would say is, don't let that put you off, having rejection. Just put yourself forward for more. Why not? That if not, you've done it once, you can always come back to us. I'm not saying don't come back to us, but I mean, also don't let that deter you from pitching again. I mean, it's amazing. You had BBC come back to you and say, send us some more.
The other thing with that rejection, you named a few things, but for example, the person that's reading it may have had a headache. The person that's reading it it might not be the right genre for what it is that they're looking for. It might not be. There's timing. There's a whole host of other things as to why they've rejected it. I wrote something recently, and I really love the story, and I'll speak to you about it, afterwards, because I'm thinking of the Windrush, and I'm thinking of putting together a collection of stories that you can it's a compilation of stories, but I want to speak to you about it. But this particular story, I did enter it for a competition, and I didn't get anywhere in the competition, but a friend of mine, she said, look, let's just do it. So it's good to just enter competitions, and they say, oh, we've chosen somebody else. Okay, that's fine. But I think one of the reasons I love the story so much, it's so gentle, it just leaves a smile at the end. And the title of it was really, really long. It was, 4,678,000 miles. So that in itself, a real mouthful. Yeah. And so if somebody's reading a whole load of like the titles all come in first, they just think, nah, too complicated. They don't even know if they did read, because it's, they have to shortlist first and then they start to read for it. So I don't even know if they actually read it, but I feel that the title may have put them off. But I do have another title, which is much shorter, and I think that might be something. And then I thought, with the sterling job that Conscious Dreams Publishing has done, I feel that, this is something else that.
Oh, you've frozen. If you're watching, please let me know if I have frozen or if Saleah has frozen as well. I know that Saleah has frozen for me. So I'm just going to read some comments. Andrea says, great cover. Well done, Emily. Andrea says, Saleah and I have this running joke that we have all these little pamphlets in our computer of stories and work that can be turned into great books. Philomena says, hello, love and blessings and favour, my dear. And Ali Pally says, okay, no problem. I'll carry on then. Rejection is so hard and often painful. You just have to remember how creative you are and never stop believing in yourself. That is so true. Absolutely powerful as well. Because I know, Alison, you've also been on a similar journey to Saleah, writing your book for the last few years. And we are now publishing a book, Downloads from Heaven, coming out on the 1st of September, which is very, very exciting. I think Saleah's gonna come back in soon. Beverly says, I love the research that she has put into her book. I think that part of it is so, so important. Like I say, I work with a lot of young people, and I always tell them, what genre do you want to write your book in and what era? Think about the time. And they always say 80s for some reason. I think it's something to do with Stranger Things. I'm like, listen, nothing, you don't know, you weren't born in the 80s. I know the 80s, so let's make sure you know about it. And then they're writing and they're talking about picking up the mobile phone and Snapchatting or whatever. And it's like, you do know that we never had any of that in the 80s. So research is key. I'm going to bring on Saleah. I think because our time has run out, I am going to ask. Hello. Oh, Saleah, are you here? I'm going to ask you to give us some last.
I can hear you now.
Brilliant. I'm going to ask you to. Oh, she's gone. Hopefully you can hear me. And when you come back, I'm just going to ask you to share some final words with budding, aspiring authors, and also how people can connect with you. Oh, she's gone. She's coming back. She's connecting from Malta. Ali Pally says, yes, I definitely feel similar to her journey.
I'm back again. Can you hear me?
I can. So last question is, give us some last final parting words of wisdom for aspiring authors and where people can connect with you.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can. But you've frozen.
Hello, I keep cutting it out.
So final question, just while you can hear me.
I keep cutting out.
Last parting words for aspiring authors and how people can connect with you.
All right.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Saleah and I will pass on her parting words. But for now, I'm going to round off the show because we have been going live for 50 minutes. We've got to pop over to Instagram. So thank you everybody so much for joining. I'm going to give Saleah one last chance because I feel like she's got some important words to share with us. Otherwise,
right.
Right, let's just give it one more try. So last parting
I've got a
words
website.
Okay,
Hello.
What's your website?
I've got a website. Sorry about the signal.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop Saleah's website all on the comments and say thank you so much for Saleah for coming. We are going to be back next week, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST, where I will be interviewing the awesome and amazing Janine Cummings, who is one of my very first authors and mentees back in 2016. She is a live streaming expert, and where I'm going to be speaking with her about how authors can increase their visibility and boost their sales with live video. And we'll be sharing with you an in-person workshop that we are going to be doing on Saturday, the 21st of September, which I'm really excited about. Live video is a great way to really connect with your audience, as I'm connecting with you here today. I hope you've all enjoyed the show and see you next week. Have a beautiful evening. Bye.